Meet four people. Daniel is 67, spent his whole working life being responsible, bought a house in the early 80s, raised two kids, built what looked like a solid, respectable life. By the standards of his time, he absolutely nailed it. Linda is 51, career woman, good income, two teenagers, a reliable car, and a holiday abroad every summer. Anyone looking at her life from the outside would assume she had everything under control. Then there's Alex, 37. Worked hard, cleared his student debt one painful payment at a time, watched his friends somehow afford homes he couldn't even get close to, and eventually stopped trying to figure out the housing market altogether. Instead, he spent his money on weekends away, good restaurants, and experiences, because at least those felt real. And finally, Emma, 23. She's already talking about index funds. She knows what compound interest means. She has an investment account she actually contributes to. Financially, she's light years ahead of where her parents were at her age. Four people, 4 different decades, 4 completely different circumstances. And yet every single one of them is falling into the exact same trap, just dressed up differently depending on the era they grew up in. Here's what the trap actually is. It's not about being reckless or irresponsible. Most people who fall into this trap are genuinely thoughtful about money. They pay their bills, they plan ahead. The trap is far more subtle than carelessness. At some point in every generation's life, the world around them quietly established what success was supposed to look like. A certain type of home, a certain standard of living, a certain kind of lifestyle. Nobody sat anyone down and explained it. It just got absorbed through the people around you, the culture you were raised in, the things that got celebrated and admired. And when you finally reached the point where you could afford that version of success, you bought it, because it felt like the obvious next step. That's the trap. Not greed, not stupidity, just following the unwritten rules your generation handed down to you without question. Daniel's generation learned that owning a home was the ultimate measure of success. His parents rented their whole lives, and to Daniel, buying a house meant you had truly arrived. So when the bank approved him for the largest mortgage he could qualify for, he signed without hesitation. And the house did appreciate, dramatically. On paper, Daniel is worth a lot of money. But here's the problem. At 67, nearly everything Daniel has is locked inside those 4 walls. The pension he counted on disappeared when his employer restructured. He has savings, but not nearly enough to comfortably cover the next 2 or 3 decades of retirement. And selling the house means walking away from everything familiar. The house wasn't the mistake. Treating the house as the entire plan, that was the trap. Linda's story looks different, but leads to the same place. Every time her income grew, her lifestyle grew with it. Promotion at 33, new car. Crossed 6 figures at 39, bigger house. Kids' school fees went up, holiday got upgraded too. Each individual decision made perfect sense in isolation. She'd earned it. She could afford it. But the gap between what came in and what she saved barely moved, just to the higher number. At 51, Linda has assets and equity, but she's a decade from retirement, and the numbers are tighter than they should be for someone who's been a high earner for over 20 years. That's lifestyle creep, and it quietly swallowed decades of earning potential. Alex's situation is one that an entire generation will recognize. The financial system genuinely shifted against millennials in ways that weren't their fault. The 2008 crash arrived right when they were supposed to be building their foundation. Property moved out of reach. Retirement felt abstract and distant. So they spent on what they could afford: travel, experiences, meals, memories. And culture told them that was actually the enlightened approach, that experiences were the real wealth, that older generations had it wrong. At 37, Alex has collected a lot of memories and very little invested. The trap wasn't the experiences themselves. It was using experiences as a full replacement for building assets, while an entire cultural narrative told him that was wisdom. Emma is the most financially aware person in her family's history. She understands investing. She started early. But the trap for her generation is the most visible one ever built, because it lives online. The arrival signal for Emma's generation isn't a house or a lifestyle. It's an aesthetic. The right brands, the right setup, the right image. She contributes to her investment account every month and is genuinely proud of that. But she's also spending several times that amount on things whose primary purpose is how they appear to other people. The trap here isn't ignorance, it's performance. Knowing the right financial language while the actual numbers stay quiet and small. Same trap, different costumes. So what does escaping it actually look like? The people who get it right in every generation tend to do one thing differently. They consciously separate the appearance of wealth from the building of it. They delay the lifestyle upgrade. They drive the older car a little longer, skip one of the 4 trips, resist the aesthetic refresh, and they redirect the difference somewhere that compounds over time. It's not complicated, but it works completely against every social instinct we carry, which is exactly why even smart, financially aware people get caught. Assets first, lifestyle second. Not permanently, just until the assets are generating enough that the lifestyle is genuinely funded rather than just financed. So here's the question worth sitting with today. Which version of the trap are you in right now? The home that holds everything? The lifestyle that grew with every pay rise? The experiences that replaced the building? The aesthetic that performs success without quite creating it? Name it, because that's always the first step. I'm Mary, and this is Mary Explains Money. If this resonated, share it with someone who needs to hear it.